Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
Police pursuit at this point in time on the 91 freeway. Susie, we understand this is for failure to yield.
That's right. We're told the driver was wanted for failure to yield. Desmond Shaw live in Sky 9 with the look for us now. Desmond.
Well, Jeff and Susie, here we are getting into Buena Park, almost Buena Park, I should say. Still in Fullerton, westbound on the 91. But this sounds like this started in the Riverside area. We were first hearing about it in the Santa Ana Canyon, this older black Mercedes, and the vehicle co-violation we heard was that they actually didn't have any license plates, and when CHP tried to pull them over, they wouldn't stop. So they took off, not seeing really high speeds. In fact, seeing some fairly low speeds at this point. I'll put the speedometer up here and show you speeds as low as 45 miles an hour on the freeway, between kind of 45 and 55. So not even getting up to the speed limit. This old black Mercedes. Try to find out what model it is, but widen out here, you see CHP kind of keeping their distance. We're almost at the 5. We'll see if the vehicle continues. It almost feels like this car is just kind of limping along at these speeds. Westbound on the 91, approaching the 5. CHP wanted them to stop for not having license plates, and they wouldn't pull over, Jeff and Susie.
Okay, Desmond Shaw is live overhead of this latest pursuit here on this Monday night in Los Angeles. CHP pursuit. This is going to be right now in Buena Park, 91 freeway westbound. Susie?
That's right, and we're hearing that there were no license plates on this car. CHP originally tried to pull this person over. The want now is failure to yield, and then it makes you wonder why this person didn't stop or yield for the CHP. Is there something inside this car? Right. You know, did something happen prior to this chase? We don't know much about this person right now, but we do know that they did not stop when the CHP tried to pull them over. And
that does appear to be a larger Mercedes-Benz, older type of a vehicle, we've been told. Desmond, we see the night sun, if you will, from the law enforcement chopper overhead. Can you tell us which agency that is?
Yes, this may be, I'll see if my pilot can give me the, do you know what agency that is, Mitch? Okay, it's CHP's chopper overhead, so they're pretty much exclusively on this from the air and on the ground. This looks like it might be one of those 90s Mercedes. If it's an S-Class or an E-Class, I can't quite tell. And I was just trying to look on the back to see if there was indeed a license plate. It's really dark, kind of hard to see, but supposedly they pulled him over for not having any plates on the car. That was one of the things that we heard. But really, really low speeds. You know, it's just sometimes we see, you know, these pursuits blasting along at over 100 miles an hour on the freeway, and this one could not be any different. He's kind of going between lanes, but really, really slow speeds. Only about 40 miles an hour as we prepare to cross the 5 freeway on this one. And CHP's been kind of content to keep everyone back. You see several units here engaged there. Because he's at a slow speed, they're not going to want a bunch of innocent people to go passing him by, not knowing exactly who they're dealing with. So they're almost kind of slowing down. They're almost kind of slowing down traffic. Slowing down all of the civilian traffic here. Jeff, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you, Desmond. Keep going, please.
Okay, yeah, we're going over the 5 freeway now, but you see with these low speeds, CHP doesn't want a lot of people coming to pass this guy by, not knowing what kind of unpredictable behavior might be involved. So they kind of have they have a unit across each of the lanes and not allowing any traffic to pass this guy. Although now that we come through the interchange, inevitably some people will pass by, but it looks like they're going to get by safely, no issue here. A little bit better lit as I move in here. Definitely a Mercedes on the larger end of the spectrum. A sedan. I think this is going to be an S-Class. I'm not entirely sure, either from the late 1990s or early 2000s, I would say. But just kind of going along here, 45 miles an hour. We've made it all the way out of the Riverside area and kind of been at this pace, I believe, the entire time, well below the speed limit here westbound on the 91 as we make our way into through Buena Park. And if we see him get off the freeway, that might be a good opportunity for a pit maneuver. We'll see. He was hugging the center divider, and then you saw right there he was hugging the far right-hand lane. So he's been in and out of lanes. Looks like he's almost having trouble just staying in a lane here along the right-hand shoulder there. But we are exiting right now, and we'll see if this continues to be you know, on the slower end of the pursuit spectrum, or if he continues. But he's going northbound now on Beach Boulevard. So just got off the 91. We're now in Buena Park on Beach Boulevard.
Yeah, if he keeps going north there, he's going to head into the city of Fullerton shortly there. But it looks like he's going to be making a left turn. And I believe that First Street, let's see, I'm trying to remember what that First Street, do you know what that First Street is there? Oh, he's making a U-turn actually, possibly getting back onto the freeway or stopping.
That was Orangethorpe right there. Well, that was Orangethorpe right there, Susie. But yeah, he just made a U-turn, made it look like he was maybe like he was going to give up, but then he stopped, and now he's starting again. So are we playing the game that we like to see a lot of these suspects do, where they play this game with officers, just make this go on as long as possible? Look at this erratic driving, just kind of swerving all over the place right there.
Was that the freeway entrance
for no reason?
Right there?
It makes you wonder. It was, and then he kind of went away at the last second, and then again it looked like he was going to go to the other side, to the west, to the eastbound 91, and then he cut away at the last second. So I'm not sure if he's just swerving to try to kind of think that he could, you know, shake officers from it, if he's trying to kind of confuse them, or if this person is impaired or what. But the kind of, you know, driving back and forth across lanes coupled with the slow speeds, you know, makes me think that there's something else afoot here besides obviously just the traffic violations, you know. And we see it so many times with so many of these suspects when they have a rap sheet, they have, you know, outstanding charges that they're wanted, or parole violations or something like that. So almost it seems pretty certain that something else is going on here, that, you know, why is this person resisting so hard? But they're not doing so in a way where they're flying 100 miles an hour down the freeway, blasting through red lights or anything like that. Besides the kind of swerving back and forth, he hasn't done anything, you know, too erratic, hasn't been driving quickly. You see him waiting at this red light. It's kind of always awkward to see these pursuits sitting at red lights, and this guy kind of acting like the cops aren't behind him, and the police not wanting to stop them, you know, when there's so many innocent people nearby, and all these other people, you know, around have no idea that they're, you know, that they're watching a police pursuit basically unfold right in front of them. So he made that U-turn. He was, you know, Buena Park, and now he's southbound on Beach Boulevard, so going by Knott's Berry Farm, and he'll be headed down towards the Anaheim area. If he continues, we're going to have to basically negotiate some airspace with John Wayne Tower. So we'll see what happens, but we're getting ready to leave Buena Park and head to Anaheim southbound on Beach Boulevard. Okay,
that vehicle you see there in the middle of your screen, hugging the left lane there, possibly, well, applying the brake, is going to be the driver of an older model, appears to be an older model Mercedes, possibly the large S-Class vehicle. The windows appear to be darkened out as well. Desmond Shaw is overhead in Sky 9, and we're getting some information from our assignment desk here, Susie, that CHP would like to use the spike strips. That's certainly something that they're very, very adept at, and they have a lot of training with that. And once we get on these surface streets, that certainly could be something that they could do. They never do that on the highway, because at those highway speeds, that's too dangerous. But this is a suspect that was found in the Riverside area with a failure to yield. CHP wanted to pull this person over because there was no license plate on this vehicle.
That's right, and like we said, it started in the Riverside area around Santa Ana Canyon and went westbound on the 91 in Fullerton and exited off Beach Boulevard in Buena Park, just passed through the Knott's Berry Farm area, if you're familiar with that area, just off La Palma and Beach Boulevard. Looks like he's just stopping right there along Beach Boulevard and possibly giving up, but then he's done this before. So it's kind of like taunting police, but it looks like a door is open.
I see a door open. That's a big passenger side.
It looks like a rear passenger door open, and someone getting out, someone who was in the rear of the vehicle there. So just letting the passenger out. So one unit's going to stay, and they're going to want to talk to that person, try to get story there. We'll continue on with the chase now as we continue into the Anaheim area, and speeds kind of picking up there a little bit as we are still southbound on Beach Boulevard, just passing Tamara Drive and Olive Drive. But that was certainly odd. So we know there were at least two people, and that person was, you know, in the rear. So I think it's got to be, why were they sitting in the rear seats? You know, were they being chauffeured in this older Mercedes, or is there someone in the passenger seat as well? How many more people?
Yeah, you would think
how many more people are inside?
You would think obviously the passenger would occupy the passenger seat, the driver, and then anybody else in the back. But I mean, it wouldn't be unusual for have just somebody in the back and then a driver, like you mentioned. But do you know what they did with that person that got out of the vehicle? I would assume that they left a unit behind to try to intercept them, Des?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely did. I mean, we wanted to keep up with the car still moving,
Sure.
so we couldn't keep that in the shot for sure. But definitely one officer stopped, and they're at the very least going to be questioning or possibly detaining that person, if at least temporarily, to try to figure out what role they had or see if they can get some more information on the suspect or how many other people are in the car. Maybe that person in the vehicle can let CHP know, if this is an armed and dangerous person they're dealing with, or is this person impaired? There's plenty of information that hopefully can be garnered from the passenger of that vehicle who was just got out of the rear passenger side of this old, I believe, S-Class Mercedes. But again, dark windows, it's another really common feature of these pursuits. So many of these vehicles with the really dark, tinted windows, so black. I mean, it's like staring into a black hole. You can't see anything going on in that vehicle, either from the sides or from the rear.
Was that a red light they were stopped at again?
Yeah, it looked like it. We haven't seen this guy blow through any red lights, but he's also stopped at some green lights as well. So this really been seeing some odd behavior on this one, but at least relieved that so far we're not seeing the really crazy driving. Oh, he went through a red light right there, didn't even slow down for that one. So just as I had said that he hadn't been blowing any red lights, there he goes right on cue and just goes right through that signal. But at least just trying to look for any silver lining here right now, that we're not seeing the super crazy driving with highway speeds on surface streets or anything like that at about 45 miles an hour. And Jeff, you mentioned spike strips. It would certainly be a good option, and at the speed that he's going, he's definitely giving CHP time to set up for a possible operation like that. So we'll see if they do end up implementing that, especially because he's been sticking to just a couple of roadways.
Sure.
He was on the 91 the entire way from the Riverside area all the way into Orange County, and then he got on Beach Boulevard, and this is the only surface street that the suspect has been on right now. So I'm sure some communication taking place. We'll see if they end up doing that.
You got to think of the frame of the mind of the passenger in that vehicle. Wanted to get out at some point in time, probably tried to convince the driver, and did so successfully, to stop and let them out. We understand that person got out on Beach Boulevard, which is where this pursuit continues. See that on the right-hand part of your screen. That's going to be when the passenger gets out of the back of that S-Class larger black Mercedes, goes to the sidewalk. We understand a police officer there is probably talking to that person, maybe in custody at this point in time. You see those two units stay behind and intercept them. And then the two other units go with the drivers. This continues here live on KCAL 9. And Susie, I see 3 units behind this suspect vehicle now, but we really don't know how many people are inside this car.
It's true. It's one of the many questions that we have in this pursuit tonight. The big question being, why did this person not yield to CHP officers when they were trying to pull them over for simply not having license plates? You wonder what's going on inside that car. As Desmond was talking about, are they impaired? Are they armed? How many people are still in that car? Are there drugs? Something that they don't want the CHP to find out, who knows? But that was really weird behavior too. Like I said before, stopping sometimes at red lights and sometimes not stopping. It looks like something's happening. What's going on, Desmond?
Well, Susie, I just noticed he stopped and he opened his car door, but then he closed it immediately. Now, we noticed there were some officers at the center divider just back about a quarter mile ago, and they did just deploy a spike strip. I heard them calling on the radio, the dispatcher asking if the spikes made contact with the tires. I haven't heard the officers call back yet if that is the case, but we saw right there CHP not being afraid to get a little bit aggressive and try to bring this to an end as they had officers. That was a really great place to do it because you have a large divided street with a big safe area for the officers to park and get out and then kind of hide in front of their car, and then right at the right moment, throw the big spike strip out. It looks like that's what they did, but might still be a bit of time before we find out just how effective that spike strip was. But then he came to the red light and he opened his door for about a half second and then closed it again. So again, what is that? Is he taunting the officers? we see it so often in these pursuits where these suspects just almost seem to want to annoy the officers. As they continue to drag this out. But at least one attempted spike strip. We'll try to find out if that was successful as we drift far deeper into Anaheim here southbound on Beach Boulevard.
Boy, Susan, I tell you, we see this more often as Des was mentioning the taunting. You just wonder if these guys are comparing notes, because this is something we've seen over the course of the last 3 or 4
So
pursuits,
often.
right?
It's true.
And it seems like it's been something that's new. I know you've been doing this for a number of years, myself included, been doing these pursuits here in LA, and it just seems like something of a phenomenon recently where they are slower and they stop more often. I don't know if they're trying to conserve gas or whatever the case may be, but that seems to be somewhat of a trend in these pursuits now.
It really does. And you know, you just wonder what they're thinking, and now they have their hazard lights on. You just wonder what they're doing. Are they drawing more attention to themselves? Are they taunting police, saying, hey, hey, here we go again, you know? I mean, they're not going at, you know, any erratic speed or anything like that. They haven't been driving erratically, even on the freeway. I mean, the worst we saw was them hugging some lanes and doing a little bit of, you know, turning off the freeway suddenly, but that was pretty much it. But if we're going about, let's see, here, 42 miles or so along Beach Boulevard, that's pretty much speed limit.
Yeah, and you know, we don't know what's going on inside that vehicle. At least one passenger in the back got out. So if there are other people in there, maybe they're trying to convince the driver to pull over. Maybe there's a reason why the hazards are on. We don't know the conversation that's going on inside of this vehicle. It appears that there is a conflict because the driver seems to be at one point in time on the highway, appeared to know what they were doing, where they were going, and all of a sudden just seems to kind of be ad-libbing what they're doing here, and not necessarily breaking every rule. They have gone through one red light, but here we are again, Susie, stopping and lawfully stopping at a red light here.
Yeah, and it just makes you so nervous when there's other people around, you know, possibly not knowing what's happening right next to them. So, you know, it's strange that they're stopping at red lights, but then again, we've seen worse than this, that's for sure. So, I mean, you know, what CHP officers are doing exactly, I'm sure they have a plan. You know, they're going to be working it out tonight. But again, this is a slow speed moving pursuit as far as we've seen it on the freeway just once, and now along Beach Boulevard. Be sure to turn it over to CBS 2 News at 11 for more on this CHP pursuit with Pat Harvey.
Breaking news at 11, Sky 2 live over a CHP pursuit. The driver just let a passenger out and kept going. We will follow it live just ahead. And that breaking news, a CHP pursuit that started in Riverside County and is now in Orange County. Desmond Shaw is live in Sky 2. I guess you're in Garden Grove right now, right, Desmond?
That's right, Pat. We just left Anaheim, getting through Garden Grove, and as soon as we cross the 22 freeway, at this rate, we will be headed towards Huntington Beach, and we'll see how far this goes as the suspect goes through another red light there at kind of a major intersection. He's not lucky. Now, this started off with the slower speeds, and actually the slower speeds have continued, but the driving itself has gotten a little bit more chaotic, a bit more dangerous, especially as he goes through some of these red lights. Not really fast, not 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, but still at 20, 30 miles an hour, not slowing down at major intersections. But fortunately for him, haven't seen any cross traffic, haven't been any real close calls, but we have seen some spike strips. We know at least one was successful. We heard that, the first one that we saw back in Anaheim. And again, we're southbound on Beach Boulevard, and here we go under the 22. And just within the last minute or so, CHP attempted another spike strip. So we'll see if that one was successful as well. But it sounds like at least the first one was. It's unclear if it hit 1 or 2 or all 4 tires. We'll see if we hear CHP talking any more about that. But this Mercedes S-Class, larger, older vehicle, maybe about 20 years old or so, is just kind of, you know, going down at a pretty leisurely pace, gotta say, Pat, southbound on Beach Boulevard. We came all the way out of Riverside County just for traffic violations for not having a license plate. That was the first thing we had heard, and CHP just wanted to conduct a routine stop, and this guy continued on. Looks like might be going into a, well, we're seeing if he's going into a shopping plaza here. We'll see if he's gonna go into this drive-through or what, but
well, hey, Desmond,
that's the first time now that we've been off of Beach Boulevard. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, we want to tell our viewers right now that we're not exactly sure how many people are in this car. We did see a passenger. I was watching on our sister station, KCAL 9, and listening to you. We saw a passenger exit the vehicle. I believe it was Beach Boulevard at Anacapa Way. A passenger got out of the rear Now, again,
oh, what's this doing here?
what is?
Whoa.
Oh no!
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Okay.
Oh, driving up onto the sidewalk in
Oh,
front of
he's
the
gonna
Walmart.
crash.
Okay, and there he
Oh,
goes. That
he
was the
bailed.
plan. Look at that. He got out, stopped the vehicle, and just flew right out the door and into that Walmart. Now let's see if anyone else gets out of the car, because yeah, you mentioned it, Pat. One person already got out. That was a passenger that got out of the rear compartment, and since they were coming out of the rear, we were wondering, you know, of the rear seats, if there was anyone still in the passenger seat. So we'll get an answer to that question shortly. But that guy just darted into that Walmart at full speed. It looked like it was a guy, and so now he's inside of this large, big box store. This is what CHP really hates, because you know this suspect that for whatever reason would pull over. They've got to wonder what else is going on with this person, and they just ran inside this big box store thinking that they could get away, maybe thinking that they could run to the rear of the building. He's got a ways to go, and there you see CHP not hesitating to get to the rear exit there, the emergency exit. So they're going to be standing by if this guy thinks that he's smarter than the cops to get out the back door and hop by that wall. He's got another thing coming. They just got there, and they're also keeping their spotlight from their helicopter overhead. But CHP now coming in. It looks like they're clearing the vehicle. Yeah, it looks like they're clearing the vehicle, and it looks like it was just the driver and the person in the rear seat. That one other person. So strange to have just one other person, you know, sitting in the rear seat and kind of chauffeuring them around. But you see them there around the car, and they haven't had any other suspects coming out. They're acting pretty casual, so it's a code 4 as far as the vehicle goes. Of course, they'll be searching that for, you know, evidence or firearms or what have you. But now the bigger question is, what is going on inside the Walmart? Is this guy, you know, there's 100 different places that someone could hide in a dressing room or in a back office, in a restroom, and they're going to be obviously watching to see if that emergency exit door comes flying open with the suspect coming out. They're looking on the roof as well to make sure the guy doesn't try to get up there to escape. So this is a really, really weird ending to this pursuit, Pat.
There's no question about that, Desmond. Want to make sure we get the location that you are, if you're still in Garden Grove right now. And just an observation, Desmond, you know, first of all, I thought he was going to crash when he just pulled right up on that sidewalk there and jumped out. It looks like he had on a white dress shirt, a long sleeve dress shirt, and some pants. You know, we've been talking about, could this person be a chauffeur, or was this person chauffeured in the back seat, because this is an older model Mercedes sedan, it looks like. Don't know that for sure. I've also observed that officers have quite a bit of help on the inside. Did you notice how many people were coming out sort of giving them directions whilst pointing like which direction this guy ran in? So not exactly sure how far he's going to get. But it's very interesting too, Desmond, that you mentioned the want originally was failure to lead, and then you talked about him driving certainly on the 91, which is why the CHP got involved. And I noticed during this pursuit, when it got on surface streets, that they were able to actually even close off some intersections so people couldn't, and I imagine that's when they deployed the spike strips, but they wanted to make sure that some intersections were closed off and people couldn't get through. So we still don't know exactly what this person was thinking. I'm sure officers have talked to that passenger that jumped out by now.
Right, yeah, hopefully they got, you know, some good information about the suspect from talking to that person. But I know I was almost thinking, is this like maybe an illegal taxi or something like that? But and you can see, you know, it looks like they're just trying to look on the windshield right there, seeing if there's like a note, or it looks like there's something on the dash of this vehicle. But I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine that you would be, you know, an independent taxi or something without even having a license plate on your vehicle. It seems like that would be pretty risky. So Garden Grove PD, now it looks like they're arriving to the scene, and they're going to have to seal this off. And I mean, you're talking about a really, really large store, obviously a Walmart with, you know, a big store filled with a lot of stuff. It's going to be difficult to get the suspect out of here for sure. And you see the spotlight still moving around as well from the rear entrance to the top of the building here, just to make sure this guy didn't try to get out any kind of, you know, fire escape, or maybe like a maintenance exit or something where someone might go to work on, the air conditioning or on the top of the building or something like that. So they're going to have their work cut out for sure. And then, you've got a lot of people inside. They're going to want those people to get out, but then they have to make sure that the suspect isn't one of the people exiting, if they're trying to get civilians out of their path.
Because it's after 11 o'clock at night.
A lot of of these stores are open late, like a Walmart. Some of them are 24 hours. But you know what? Look, they're taking someone into custody right here, Pat. We'll see if we can get a little closer to this. But this is actually up on the street right here. Looks like this is going to be Trask Avenue. Trask just to the west of Beach Boulevard. So south of the 22, and they may have pulled him out. But if this is the person, I mean, look how far he got. If he maybe, went through one of those emergency exits. When you have a lot of these big box stores that border each other, some of the emergency exits are kind of function like big hallways that funnel to the outside. So maybe he used one of those, ran down the hallway and got down to the side. But they are taking someone into custody right now, and so it looks like CHP and Garden Grove PD they may have finally got their man on this.
Is this like to the right of the screen there, Desmond? Yes, he's on the ground.
This was to the left. Yeah.
Okay.
On
my
right.
monitor,
we'll try to
it's
get in front of the signal right now. Yeah, gotcha. Right in the center of the screen there, in between the two signals, they got someone down on their knees, and looks like they're putting him in handcuffs.
All right. Well, that was my next question anyway. I was going to ask you what was happening on the perimeter of this parking garage, but we can see there that they have someone in custody, and we're going to assume, Desmond, that this is the person that they were looking for. That's a lot of police cars.
I mean, it's got to be tough because that guy got out and ran so fast it would have been difficult for them to even get a description. However, maybe they got a really good description either from some people who saw the guy fly right by him, or from that passenger who was in the vehicle that we saw exit back in Anaheim, back on Beach Boulevard. And I guess they had a good enough description to find this guy, or maybe again they probably found him in one of the emergency exits. I'm guessing right over in this area, probably let out here. Got somebody out here in the parking lot, kind of all alone, not around any vehicles, and they were able to put two and two together, and this person now in custody, looks like. Wonder how much longer this would have gone on too if the spike strip hadn't been successful. We know that they had two different attempts. We know that the first one was successful. We heard that. Didn't hear follow-up on the second one, but definitely got to wonder if this would have just continued at slow speeds for a really long time if CHP had not gotten in there and done the spike strip. And there were other opportunities too where we were hoping maybe CHP could have tried to bring him into custody at a light or something like that. But there was always other people around, so they were definitely going to wait until they got to an area where there weren't so many innocent people around. But then unfortunately the suspect had other plans and ended up bringing this to an end over at this Walmart. Here's the vehicle again. We'll show it right where he drove right up on the sidewalk, barely missed a couple of people who just came out shopping, and it looked like he was just going to go careening into those plants and into that big stone pillar right there, and just darted out of the vehicle, sprinted out, and I'm sure the security camera footage is going to be would be pretty interesting to see if this guy flying around the Walmart looking for the emergency exit. And I'm just guessing that he came out where they got him into custody, and knowing he probably knew that CHP was going to be basically monitoring all the exits on the rear of the building and had the helicopter overhead. But he thought he was smart, but he was not smarter than the cops.
No, that's for sure.